What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Views from the Sideline. It is me, Ekamresh, as always, joined by Daniel. It's been a little bit since we did our last podcast, about a month now, but you guys should definitely check that one out. It was really fun. I had my friend Anushan, and it is only on Spotify. As it's only audio, but definitely be sure to check that out. And we are back. The NBA is in full swing now. We're almost close to halfway through the season, and we thought we'd just go over some of the interesting topics that have been around the league. Kind of jumping into that, Anthony Davis has been re-injured for the Lakers, which is kind of not a surprise anymore. I feel like that happened last season and the season before that. Ever since he's come to LA, injury and like health has been a big thing for him. But with 4 minutes and 34 seconds left remaining in the first quarter of matchup against the Denver Nuggets last Friday, Davis tweaked his right foot while in the air against Nikola Jokic. And while he did play a little bit in the second quarter, he didn't really make any impact. And in the second half, he just didn't return. The Lakers did rally and they beat the Nuggets 128 to 106, which is quite surprising considering, the Nuggets are a good playoff team with the two-time MVP leading them. But honestly, the news that Davis is injured again just kind of ruins that victory. And so the consensus now is that Davis is going to be out for about a month with a foot injury. And that's really bad for the Lakers. I think just objectively, you don't want your star player to be out, especially when he was playing at such a high MVP level over the past few weeks. And we were saying that he really found himself, um, and that the Lakers, maybe might have started to right the ship after a disastrous 2-10 start. But Daniel, what are your thoughts on this, and like how does it hurt the Lakers' chances of kind of making that playoff run?
Obviously, Anthony Davis, he was, putting up really good numbers, right before his injury. I remember he put up like 53 or something around that one game.
Yeah.
So he definitely impacted the team, and they got a lot of really good wins, and they had a few losses, but most of them were pretty close. So Anthony Davis is definitely their best player right now. So it will be hard for them to kind of come back from this, but then you're gonna have to see jumps from guys like Lonnie Walker, LeBron, Austin Reeves. So all the younger guys can get more minutes and they can try to make an impact, which ultimately, it could actually be good for them. Um, but yeah, if you lose a star player, it's never good. And
Yeah, I don't
if you
know.
want to
Like
like
the thing is, like, I see it's gonna be hard for them. I feel like it's hard for me to see them beating. Like, remember when they beat the Bucks and Davis had?
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna be able to like beat teams like the Bucks like that, with Davis out. And we're already halfway through the season, and the Lakers do still have a losing record at 13-17. So it's like Davis being out for this month, it's not terrible because a lot of they play like the Wizards, the Pacers, the Suns, the Hawks, the Heat, who are all teams with like that are not very good. So they can still rattle out a few wins until the end of December. But it's like it's still a little bit scary because if Davis is out like January or even into February or something, I don't see the Lakers like making a push to even the play in because he was their star player. He was their number one option, and they were playing their best ball when he was the guy dominating, getting those 30 point, 10 rebound, the 30 point double doubles every night. So I think it's a little bit scary. And do you think like that should like cause the Lakers to consider, should we still make that Buddy Hield trade, to kind of try and win out now, or is it like not worth it because Davis is injured? Like, should they say, let's just wait another season, I guess?
I mean, I don't. It's not, that trade isn't necessarily centered around Anthony Davis, but if you want to trade, Russell Westbrook, he's averaging 14 and a half points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists. So he's putting up like decent numbers, and we've seen a lot of games where he's, Russell Westbrook's like he's proved himself a little bit that he's, that
Yeah, like
people
that. Like he had the triple double versus the Wizards. That was good.
yeah, like that, like his allegations or people's allegations of him aren't actually true. But Buddy Hield, he's a great shooter. Obviously one of the best in the league. And then they were talking about Buddy Hield and like Miles Turner. Um, I think Miles Turner, but Buddy Hield is putting up more points, but 18 points per game. And the Pacers have been pretty good this year. As of right now, they're on track to, make the playoffs. I mean, they have a winning record, so um, they're supposed to be strong. So I don't know if the Pacers would want to give up Buddy Hield for Russell Westbrook in this case, where the Pacers
Yeah.
have a better chance of making the playoffs than they do.
Yeah, and also like you're just giving away more picks, I feel like, and I don't know if you really want to do that anymore. I think like unless Anthony Davis is for sure coming back in like 3 weeks, I think it's like I think they should hold off on that trade until the last possible moment because here's the issue with the Lakers, right? LeBron, we know LeBron is old. They don't have any draft picks. Their young talent is kind of limited. It's like Lonnie Walker, Austin Reeves. Kendrick Nunn has been a complete dud, so he's obviously not going to be in that mix. And then you're supposed to be built around Anthony Davis, but Anthony Davis barely plays like half the games every season, so you can't build around someone who's like not available.
Yeah.
Um, so it just kind of it's like a tough position for the Lakers, I feel like. And so at this point in the season, I would say you continue to wait out on making that trade. You kind of hope LeBron can pull some magic and get them a few wins until Davis is healthy again. But I think pulling that trade right now is just too risky, especially considering that you're giving up more picks. And like let's if Anthony Davis isn't back like in April and you've made this trade, then it's pointless because you're not winning the title without Anthony Davis fully healthy playing at MVP level. Don't you agree?
Yeah, but also I think the Lakers, I mean, we've talked about it for so long. Their roster is mostly centered around veterans. I mean, obviously LeBron, Anthony Davis, I mean, who's actually younger, but he's becoming a veteran. Russell
Yeah.
Westbrook, Patrick Beverly, Dennis Schroeder. So I mean, looking at their roster, I mean, some of their young guys, I mean, who have showed a little bit, like you said, Lonnie Walker and Austin Reeves, and there's Thomas Bryant, Troy Brown Jr., Wenyen Gabriel. So I think they have plenty of young guys in their team. I just think they would have to. I mean, if you would have to deal with this injury and you would continue losing games, I mean, you can have an option of trying to make the play in and then trying to go to the playoffs, but honestly, if they could try to go for a pick in the draft next year, because their issue has been injuries and they're not good at dealing with them. So if someone gets
Yeah.
injured, they don't have backup guys who can fill in their spot easily. Like, I don't know, an
Well,
example of
it's also really hard to replace Anthony Davis. Like you
I
can't
mean, yeah,
really just
that's true.
replace 30 and 12.
Yeah, but at least somebody who can do at least half of what he does, and I mean, at least impact the team, not just scoring, but everything else. But I mean, yeah, like one team that does a really good job with that is like the Warriors. Like, I mean, right now Curry's injured. Jordan Poole has been putting up like insane numbers, so he's definitely been helping them. But yeah, I mean, if someone gets injured, it's about the other star players or at least the better players stepping up, and then also the guys who are gonna get more minutes, like the people who are more on the bench, like making a bigger impact for the team.
Yeah, for sure. And so the Lakers, they definitely have a lot to figure out, especially with this injury. Things are definitely a lot more confusing for them. But a team that has been figuring it out is the Brooklyn Nets. My team, my hometown team right there.
Your
I'm
team.
proud to say, I'm my team, my team.
It's not your
We
team.
know that they are my team.
You're a Lakers
We're
fan.
I like LeBron. I was never a Lakers fan though. Okay, the Brooklyn Nets have been figuring it out since Kyrie Irving's return from his suspension and all that controversy. The Nets are 12-3, with the record overall of now 19-12, which is good for fourth in the East. Their schedule's been very light. It's been like the Magic. They've been beating the Magic, Wizards, Pacers, Raptors, Blazers, like teams that are not the best in the league. Some of them are okay, but definitely not the cream of the crop. The Raptors, but
That's not nice.
they've definitely been better than they were before. Like before, it was a question if they would even beat like a team like the Wizards or the Pacers. But they've been doing it pretty convincingly over the past few weeks. And in that span, Kevin Durant's been averaging 30 points on 60% field goal and 37% from three. And Kyrie Irving's been averaging 25, almost 26 a game, 4 rebounds, 4 assists on 51, 37, and 90 from the free throw line. So how impressive, like on a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rank this Nets turnaround so far? Because they had a losing team. If you remember, KD was coming out and he was saying like, no disrespect to my teammates, but disrespectfully, we can't win with my teammates. If you remember, he was like, we
Yeah, I
have Rose
remember
O'Neal
that.
in the starting lineup. We can't play with that. I can't play
Yeah.
with that. But they've kind of turned around from that to now being a legitimate playoff contender and having
Yeah,
the best record in the East over the past few weeks. So how impressive on a scale from 1 to 10 has that turnaround been?
I mean, on it probably. Probably. I mean, I'm not gonna say 10, but probably 8 or 9
Yeah.
because I mean, Kyrie Irving. I mean, since his suspension, he's really stepped up. I mean, I was able to witness the Raptors lose 4 games to the Nets this year. So,
Yeah.
and Kyrie Irving scored a game winner. But one guy in particular that I think deserves more like praise is Utah Watanabe. Because a few years ago he was being like criticized, saying he's not good. I think he was actually waived. The Raptors signed him. He wasn't so good on the Raptors, and then
Uh-huh.
we waived him, and he signed with the Nets in the offseason. And he's been the best shooter, arguably the best shooter in the league this season. He's been shooting like 55% from like 3-point range, which is like the
Hmm.
highest in the NBA, which is absolutely crazy. And although his stats aren't the best, I mean, he's definitely helped the Nets in the clutch moments. He's had a couple 20-point games so here and there, but uh, he's definitely helped them with their shooting because they've had shooting problems before, especially when you had KD and Kyrie who were injured and in that playoff run where James Harden got injured and Kyrie. And
Yeah.
also Ben Simmons, because we used to always like make Ben Simmons as like a meme, and we always say, as you say, he like sucks, but you know he's really made an impact. In my opinion, not just shooting wise. I mean, he hasn't been shooting threes, but he's a
I don't think he'll ever shoot threes.
he will never shoot threes, but he's a big man, so he's in the paint. But his rebounding, he's averaging 9 rebounds per game, 8 assists. So he's almost averaging a triple double this year. Wait, actually, yeah, 8 points, no, 8.7
Over the past few
assists.
games, yeah.
Yeah, over the past like let's just say 10, yeah, around
Yeah.
10 games. I'm seeing, yeah. So he's definitely, I mean, I feel like this season there's been so many people that have been showing that they're better than we think they are. Like Russell Westbrook has had a few of those instances. Ben Simmons, um,
Kyrie
yeah,
too, honestly.
Kyrie, yeah. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if the Brooklyn Nets can do something because they also have a young
Yeah.
roster. I mean, there's so many role players. You have Nick Claxton, who's a really good forward. You have Cam Thomas, who's honestly last season when you had those stretches of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving injured, he was very underrated in that stretch. Nobody, yeah, I mean, Markieff Morris, Joe Harris, another really good shooter, Patty Mills. So they definitely have a lot of really good shooters, and they added Royce O'Neal from Utah in the offseason. So they're definitely a good team, and although they may not have a lot of experience other than like KD, Kyrie, and I guess Patty Mills and Ben Simmons, I mean, they can definitely. I think they can do something, especially in this Eastern Conference where it's super tough. If they can win their fair share of games and make the playoffs, I think they could do really good.
Yeah, I would give the turnaround probably like I'm gonna go a little below it. I'm gonna give it like 6, honestly. Just because, yeah, it's really impressive. They've had a really good record, but it's like they haven't had to play the Bucks, the Celtics. They haven't had to play the Suns. They haven't played any even like mid-tier Eastern Conference teams, which are slightly below them. They haven't really had to play any of them over the past few years. They haven't had to play the Knicks, the Sixers, Hawks, or even some of the Clippers, the Kings. They've kind of played lower tier teams, which are kind of in the bottom half of the standings, which the Raptors, Pacers, you know, the Wizards, Magic are all in that section. So I mean, they're winning against teams that they're expected to win against, and I think that's good. But when they start to really play some of these more top teams, when they start to play the Suns, the Grizzlies, Pelicans, the Celtics, the Sixers, when they start to play those teams, that's when we'll really see where this next team kind of stands in the Eastern Conference. But I still think it's really impressive. I'm glad that they're back to their winning ways because I thought KD was going to be gone by February at one point. When he was just outright saying like I can't play with these teams, I can't win with my teammates. I was so worried as a Nets fan. I was like, he's out of here by February. He's going to be traded. He does not
Yeah.
want to be here. He's going to be like he sits out the season like a Ben Simmons thing, or he's out of here. And to see kind of that, this team be revitalized is so nice for me. And I think if Ben Simmons returns to like his all-star form, where he's averaging like 16, 8, and 8 on pretty efficient numbers, I think you have a pretty dangerous team. Defensive player of the year type player also on the defensive end, I think then you have a pretty dangerous team overall, and the Nets could definitely make some noise against someone like the Bucks. I think that would be a pretty good matchup for them.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think I think the Nets have a lot of chances in the next like couple of weeks to prove themselves because
yeah,
they're playing against the Warriors. Although shorthanded, they're still really good because Jordan Poole, like I said, he's been doing well with Steph Curry out, and then you have obviously everybody else. They're playing the Bucks, they're playing the
that's
Cavs,
gonna be
the
a big game.
Hawks. Yeah, so. I mean, Nets Bucks will be really entertaining. You're gonna have the Cavs, you're gonna have the Hawks. I mean, you have the Hornets who aren't as good, the Spurs. Then you have the Bulls, Pelicans, Heat, Celtics. So they have plenty of chances to prove themselves. And I think, although I mean, everyone's gonna rely on like KD and Kyrie to have big games, like it would be cool if somebody else, like I don't know, Ben Simmons, Cam Thomas, if they
Steps
can
up,
like
yeah,
steps up. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Kind of moving on now to a little different topic. The NBA released they completely changed their awards. And not completely changed, like they redesigned and renamed a lot of their awards. So they revealed these major changes to their end of season awards earlier last week. So the MVP has been renamed to be the Michael Jordan Trophy. The Defensive Player of the Year is now the Hakeem Olajuwon Trophy. Rookie of the Year is named after Wilt Chamberlain. The Sixth Man of the Year is the John Havlicek Trophy. The Most Improved Player of the Year is the George Mikan Trophy. And they've added in a new award for the Clutch Player of the Year, which is going to be named after Jerry West. And all the trophies have also been redesigned, where the Michael Jordan Trophy is kind of an image of Jordan now, as opposed to that older MVP trophy with like Jerry West dribbling like the NBA logo. And then the other five awards all are kind of like this cup vase type glass cup that's see through, and then inside is like a gold figure of each, like a famous pose from every player. So for like Hakeem, it's like a defensive stance. For Will, it's him holding the two basketballs, and just things like. And John Havlicek is him shooting. So it's just all the trophies have kind of been redesigned and renamed. And I really like this. I like the renaming at least. The redesigns, I'm not the biggest fan, but I'm glad they're renamed because like I think it just like commemorates older players for future generations. So like we'll remember who George Mikan is, who John Havlicek is, later down the line, even though they haven't been playing for almost, 70, 80 years now. Um, not 70, 80 years, but quite a few decades. So I think it's a good way to commemorate a lot of the greats from the past by doing this. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts on these awards?
I mean, the awards are, I mean, yeah, same here. Like, I liked how they renamed the awards. And each one sort of has a meaning, not just most valuable player, but you can look at like players who like achieved it and who are really good at when, I mean, defensive player of the year, Hakeem Olajuwon is like one of the best defenders of all time. Rookie of the year, Will Chamberlain is he's just him. But
Yeah,
six man of the year, John Havlicek. So yeah, I mean, I love the names. I mean, the trophies are like, I mean, the trophies were nice before because I mean, they didn't really change them for so long. But I mean, we'll see. I mean, they look, oh, they're okay. I mean, I don't really, I'm not worried about like the trophies as much as like the awards. Um, but then early predictions. I mean, for each of the awards. Um, I mean, it's been about 2 months into the season, and we've seen a lot of really good performances.
yeah,
Um, so I think we can start from like we can go over the three awards: most improved defensive player of the year and MVP lad, an MVP award.
sure.
So for most improved, I mean, I'm looking at a few ladders that people have made, just some of their opinions, and I agree with one of these. Um, so there's five people in particular, and I mean, I can just tell you the names, and you can like tell me if you agree with it or not. But so
For sure.
at number five, they put Bobo from the Orlando Magic.
Yes, 100% agree.
Yeah, because he's been super dominant. He's 13.5 points per game, 8 rebounds. He's been showing his length, taking like really big strides to the court. Then you have
Literally
Anthony.
and physically.
Yeah, I know it's so funny because he's
I can't believe
huge.
the Nuggets passed up on him. That was anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, but they have Anthony Simons.
Yes.
Talking about
Agreed.
last week, he averaged 30 points per game, 6 assists, 3 rebounds. So he dropped 45 points on one of the games. So he's definitely a really big asset for the Blazers. And if in any case, if Damian Lillard is injured, then I think he could definitely, if he needs to step up, then um, he definitely could because his 3 point shooting is really good. Obviously, not as good as Damian Lillard's, but really good. And then you have Roy Markkinen, who's definitely, I mean, he's going to be my candidate for the rest of the year because he's a big reason why the Utah Jazz are still a franchise. So he's been averaging 23, 3 and 9, which is really good for him considering that, last year he was on the Cavs and um the Cavs were supposed to be good with Donovan Mitchell, but then obviously they included Ori Markin in that trade. So he wasn't able to experience a strong team, but the Jazz are looking pretty good this year. So yeah, I think I would put him there.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think Lauri Markkanen is definitely number one. Considering what they're not number one seed in the West like they were in the beginning of the season. Nobody really expects them to kind of be there, but
Yeah.
they're definitely a very solid team, exceeding expectations. I don't know what they're doing because Victor Wembanyama is better than getting the eighth seed in the playoffs, personally. But very solid team, and Lauri Markkanen has definitely taken a step up and kind of finally shown why he was worth the lottery pick to Chicago all those years ago. For the defensive player of the year, honestly, that's a hard one. Who would you have as your top, Daniel?
Non-biased.
Yeah, non-biased, not five Raptors players.
So Fabian
Rounding up
Lee,
the ladder.
Pascal Siakam, Scotty. No, okay. So I have two players because I think they're equally good: Brooke Lopez and OG Anunoby, and that's non-biased at all.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree with that actually.
because OG Anunoby, he averages 4 deflections per game. He recovers 2 loose balls per game. He's averaging a bunch of rebounds. Obviously, he just came back from injury, but there's a stretch where for 4 games he averaged like 6 or 7 steals, which is crazy. And he's a big reason why our defense is good because I went to the Raptors Warriors game and without him, our defense was really bad. So,
Yeah.
he can definitely change the mode of the game with defense. And then Brooke Lopez is, I mean, he's fit for defense because of his size. He's like 7'1". He's a
hmm
center. He leads the league in blocks. Um, I mean, he's um having shooters who are averaging a certain percentage against him. They're hitting 5% worse of the percentage against him. Um, so
Yeah, I agree. I would probably give it to Brooke, I think. I know you don't like that answer, but I think I'd give it to Brooke just because of he's just been so good at the rim, and he's really been the reason why the Bucks are such a good. The Bucks scheme on defense is to kind of let as many 3-point shots go up as possible, while like limiting the amount of shots at the rim, and having someone like Brooke. I mean, Giannis obviously there too, but having someone like Brooke Lopez there consistently in the paint just kind of stops most people from shooting efficiently at the rim. So I would give it to Brooke personally.
okay. No, I mean, to be fair, I haven't really watched him too much this season. I've just seen a few highlights of Brook Lopez, but yeah, I would probably agree if I kept watching him. But it's mostly big man. I mean, last year we saw Marcus Smart win it. And you have
Yeah.
Dylan Brooks. Dylan Brooks is also good for defensive. I mean, I don't think he's as good as Brook Lopez or OG Anunoby in terms of defense, but he's made a big asset for Memphis in terms of defense, and he's really looking forward to Christmas because he gets to play the Warriors.
Yeah.
And he had like an interview a couple of weeks ago where or actually last week because Steph Curry got injured, so he's not going to be playing against them at Christmas. And he was saying that he'll take Clay. It's okay. Like
Yeah.
it'll be even easier or something like that. It was funny. So yeah,
Yeah. And then for MVP, I think it's pretty easy. For me, it's Jason Tatum. The Celtics are probably the best team in the league. if not they are the best team in the league. Tatum is averaging amazing, almost 30 points per game, very efficient, leading that team to top seed in the entire NBA. They're better than last year, and it's like so easy for me. I think Luka could make a case, but Dallas has just not been good as a team this year, and we know that they don't give the MVP to someone who's like an 8th or 7th seed. So I think you got to go with Tatum for that one. I think Giannis also has, his merits. He's averaging more points than minutes played, which is crazy. But
Wait, actually.
yeah, but I think Tatum could. I think Tatum definitely has it. And if someone, so there, it's so competitive, but there's some people that could sneak in. I think Joel Embiid, if the Sixers have started to play really well since Harden's return. Joel Embiid could sneak in there. He's leading the league in points right now. He's been dominant on both ends of the floor. So I think it's Tatum right now. I think it's Tatum for
Yeah,
MVP pretty easily.
I think I'd give it to Tatum, but I mean, as the season goes on, you never know. But yeah, right now Tatum is I think is my clear, not unanimous, but clear MVP candidate, like front runner. I mean, obviously Giannis, Jokic was really good last night with his passing and his IQ, but Sean Morant, Kevin Durant. Morant and Durant. That rhymes. But no, but yeah, I mean, as the season goes on, you'll see guys like Morant, Durant, Doncic, Zion,
Zion
Joel
definitely.
Embiid, Steph, Anthony Davis, um, Donovan Mitchell. I think.
Yes, him too.
Yeah,
It's gonna be a very interesting MVP race, I think, for
yeah.
sure.
I mean, so many people have emerged. I mean, Donovan Mitchell, like he was good with Jazz, but not. But this year, he's been really good for Cleveland. I mean, he's obviously their best player. I mean, their lineup is really, really stacked. So, yeah,
Yeah,
the Eastern Conference is a lot more competitive than the West. I mean, I'm not saying the West isn't competitive, but I definitely think the East is way more competitive because you have more teams that weren't projected to be as good that are emerging. I mean, obviously
yeah,
in the
for
West
sure.
you have and also the Sacramento Kings, they're 16-13. They're sixth in the Western Conference as of right now. So they're also looking like one of those teams that are emerging because we didn't expect the Kings to be as good. But they're really young and they made a few smart changes in the offseason. And drafting Keegan Murray. So
Yeah,
they're gonna look really good.
yeah. So definitely very exciting. This MVP race is only gonna heat up after this. So kind of to quickly wrap up, let's just rate some teams on how much they're contenders. I think these are some very interesting teams to pick. But first off, our favorite team, the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm putting them at a solid 4 for contending right now with Anthony Davis out. Where do they stand?
Yeah, I'm gonna give them a 4 because with Anthony Davis out, it's gonna be really hard to bounce back, especially because of their schedule
Yeah,
coming up. They've been kind of lucky with their teams in the last let's just say last couple weeks. So now they're gonna play some more tougher teams, and without him, it's gonna be very
they're
hard
done. Yeah,
unless LeBron can go and score 62 again. But
yeah. I don't see anything crazy like that happening right now though. LeBron's only going to get older. But so
yeah,
I'm putting them at a 4. The New York Knicks, they're very hot right now on an 8-game win streak for good to move them up from 5th in the
uh,
West.
I mean contenders. I mean if we're talking championship, I mean they don't really have much experience, so I'm not gonna. I think in terms of going deep or let's say making the playoffs, probably like a 6 or a 7 because they've looked really hot and their team's super balanced. I mean,
Yeah,
you had Julius Randle. You have Randall, you have RJ Barrett, who's super young and really good so far.
Obi
Jalen Brunson,
Toppin, Jalen Brunson.
yeah,
But
Obi
I'm putting them.
Toppin.
I kind of disagree. I'm gonna put them at like a 3, if not lower. Because here's one thing you have to know: if Julius Randle is leading your team, you are not making it that far at all. So they're
Yeah, that's
hot
true.
right now. Like this, them going on this win streak is probably gonna secure them a playoff spot. But there's just no way I see them being the Cavs, the Bucks,
Yeah,
Celtics,
I
the
don't see
six.
that.
Like there's just no way any like even if you put like the Raptors in the playoffs, I did not see the Knicks beating the Raptors personally.
I agree.
Like I just don't see it happening. So I'm like the Lakers at least, Anthony Davis being healthy, LeBron being healthy, you know what they do. So they could probably make some noise even if their record is kind of lower. But like we've never seen Julius Randle win multiple championships, win an MVP, you know? So I don't think we can put like we can't put the Knicks anywhere close to championship contenders.
Yeah, they're
I
not
think I think
contenders
they're
for
at three.
championship. I think they can. I think they're gonna they have a really high chance of making the playoffs, but I think going
Yeah,
past the first round is gonna be really tough considering the whole Eastern Conference.
exactly. Yeah. Like right now they would be matched up against the Cavs. And this I just don't see them beating the Cavs in like
Yeah, the
99%
Cavs
of
the Cavs are really dominant, so they're not beating
exactly. Yeah. Next team is the Toronto Raptors. This is gonna be a very interesting one because I feel like you and I will disagree a little bit.
them. So I'm gonna give a 10. No, no. Um,
Easily.
I mean, I think playoffs will. I think even playoffs will be really hard for the Raptors because
Yeah. It's just because Siakam's been injured so much, right? They've had a lot of injuries to their
yeah,
team.
no, not just Siakam, but Anunoby and Trent have been injured. I mean, I think give credit to like Van Vliet and Siakam because they've both been playing really well. But in terms of championship, it's no okay. Championship is like a 2 or like
Yeah,
something
I
like a
give it a
two,
two.
2 out of 10. But playoffs is like a even playoffs like playoffs is like a 5
Yeah, I'm playing five right now because the Eastern
because
Conference is just so big, like difficult.
the Eastern Conference has improved so much in the past few years, and our defense is a joke. If we don't have Anunoby and Trent, who are two best defenders, and coincidentally they're both out. So I mean Anunoby just came back, but he's not playing at his top form yet, just because. So our defense is a joke. Our offense is actually like 21st in the league, so that's also not that good.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, yesterday or not yesterday, day before yesterday, I mean, we lost to the Sixers in overtime, but they didn't have Tyrese Maxey, who is their best scorer other than
Bro,
Joel.
Embiid is obviously
I said other than me,
there.
not instead. But yeah, I don't think or I mean, I think playing we could do. I mean, we're the 10th seed right now. If we can get all our players back, we have a very tough schedule. I mean, we're playing the Knicks tonight in Madison Square Garden, so that's going to be a toughie.
Yeah.
Then we're playing the Cavs, the Clippers, the Grizzlies, the Suns. Oh my, that's a nightmare. The
Yeah,
pace
I don't see the Raptors
the
making
the Pacers,
much noise right now.
the Pacers, the Bucks, the Knicks. Okay, so we're not gonna win a game until like Charlotte and like January 10th. Unless we have like
Yeah, that's
okay.
brutal. That's
Okay, we'll have one good game and we'll win, but there's no way.
yeah.
We need to I think our goal for the rest of the year is to during the trade deadline, Masai Ujiri has to make some
Or
changes. I mean, try to honestly our bench yeah, our bench. I mean, I think our goal in the offseason was to like have more depth and especially in our bench. And our bench is bad right now. I don't see anybody really standing out other than Chris Boucher, who's been coming here and there. But I think clear some of our bench players and try to get picks or try to get some
yeah.
like okay some decent players who can at least make some sort of an impact. Um, because if you have like we had Anunoby and Trent, okay, there's two starters but our starting lineup had Juancho Hernan-Gomez and Christian Coloco, and Christian Coloco's our rookie, and he was like second round pick or something like that. So you cannot have that as our starting lineup with only two guys injured.
Yeah, and
So we need
expect
to
to like, yeah, have a championship or like playoff team, right?
expect to beat the Bucks and the Clippers and the Grizzlies and everybody. Like so we need to make some changes. I mean, I've read tons of news with saying like a lot of teams are interested in OG Anunoby because of his defense, because of Gary Trent Jr. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
OG Anunoby is really good, so I wouldn't want to let him go. But if some team makes like a really good offer, it gives us like a ton of really like a ton of like you know like good role players for OG and some picks. I'm kind of tempted for that because there was a rumor that if OG Anunoby was to get traded, like the deal that would be made for him would be like as big as like the deal made for like Donovan Mitchell. He's at the time Donovan Mitchell wasn't as good as he is now.
Yeah.
So Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we could make some trade like that, unless our GM is stupid again and trades away like Siakam, like he traded away Norman Powell in 2020. But he can do
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
But okay,
yeah.
so I think that's a good area to wrap up the podcast. For those who aren't aware, we created a new Instagram account. It's at views FT side on Instagram. And on Spotify, we have the same account. So make sure to go listen to a few podcasts on Spotify. Like Ekamresh said, we have an all audio podcast with him and his friend, which was actually funny. So make sure you make
Thanks,
sure to go
Daniel. I really
you're welcome.
appreciate that compliment.
You're welcome. But yeah, make sure to go check that out. Make sure to subscribe to YouTube and comment down below if you guys want us to discuss anything else in the future. And with
Yeah,
that
and we're
being
definitely gonna have a lot more Instagram content also coming up for sure.
yeah, so expect more of that. And with that being said, guys, me and Nate can see you guys in the next podcast.